Good morning. It is 10:39 a.m. on Sunday, August 2nd, 2015. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. My habit recently of staying up too late and then sleeping way in on the weekends is certainly accessible and fun, but it's probably not good for my sleep patterns generally. So this is just a little bit of me beating myself up over sleeping in so much. Okay, I'm over it. So, I did a couple of things yesterday, one of which was to do a little bit of writing. I didn't really get too very many words, but I'm now participating in something that I believe is called the Magic Spreadsheet as part of a Facebook group. It's essentially just sort of a little word count accountability tracker type of deal. And so, as a part of trying to do that all this month, I wrote 737 words yesterday and put it on the spreadsheet. And so I'm going to try to have a word count every day this month. And so I'm going to use this video as a way to double that, not double the word count, but rather double the accountability, just in the sense that I'm going to report my word count here to you as well. That took way too long to explain. You probably had it figured out when I was halfway done. Anyway, I wrote 737 words. I'm currently writing on my short story where the basic premise is just this kind of the straight up idea that, like, couldn't, in theory, the same person become both a ghost and a zombie? And so I'm writing that story. I think another day or two and I'll have the rough draft finished. I already know approximately what's going to happen, but I just need to get there, so to speak. The other thing that I did a couple of other things yesterday. One was to play, I've been talking a lot about Metal Gear, and as a part of the Metal Gear Solid HD collection, which I own, you can play the original games, Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. That were originally for the MSX computer, although they had versions of those games come out on the NES, but I gather those games were, like, a lot of changes were made to the original Metal Gear game, and then the Metal Gear 2 Snake's Revenge for the NES actually is made by completely different people and has it's not canon, so to speak. But anyway, I played all the way through the original Metal Gear yesterday. It's not very long, especially if you're using a guide, like a lot of those old school NES era video games. Although, certainly without a guide, these two games are games that would have been much more difficult because they have all sorts of weird little sneaky tricks. And so now I'm a little ways into Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. And because I want to see that part of the story. But the other thing that I'll talk about is, just to recap that I also finished watching the Wet Hot American Summer First Day of Camp series on Netflix, and it was excellent. I never even knew that I wanted to see Chris Maloney and John Hamm have a fight with pots and pans through a kitchen. I never knew that I wanted to see that, but it turns out that I did, and now I have. Thumbs up. But I also watched Ex Machina yesterday. Now I'm looking at the time, and, I had originally been thinking, I'll get a couple things out of the way, and then I'll spend most of the time talking about Ex Machina. The best laid plans of mice and men. Luna's asleep. Ex Machina is very, very good. I will, if you haven't seen it, the barest bones premise, and I don't want to get more into it than this, is that because a lot of discovering the plot is a lot of the fun, but we have an employee of a company who has apparently won a contest, and the prize is apparently to go and spend a week with the reclusive head of the company's estate in like Alaska or something. It's not actually 100% clear where it is. It's out in the middle of nowhere in glacier country. And it's like not clear whether it's a vacation or is it or exactly what's the nature of the trip. But hey, he won, I guess. But he gets up there and it becomes clear that he is there to help perform a Turing test on an artificial intelligence that this guy has built. The Turing test is a thought experiment version of artificial intelligence testing, where if you have an examiner who is a human talking to someone that they can't see, and if they can't tell if this other person they're communicating with is human or a machine, then that machine would have passed the Turing test, implying that they have true artificial intelligence. As computing has evolved, I think that test needs to evolve, because I think it's just an element of people could be easier to fool. Easier to fool than that, so you could have something that is not intelligent in the way that it's selecting its responses. Like, for example, if you have someone who just literally programmed an encyclopedia of phrases into its memory and just told it, if anybody ever says X, then you say Y, and then if they say Z, then you say A. It would be hard to argue that would be artificially intelligent, but a skilled programmer could theoretically make a machine that does that and fools someone trying to perform a Turing test on it. But that would be down to the programmer's skill rather than the actual artificial intelligence of the machine. In any case, I don't want to get into the plot of what happens in the movie, except to say that it's very good. It reminds me a lot of Her from last year, which I also really enjoyed. The plot is not, like, I don't want to get into the plot, and the plots are not identical or anything, but just in the sense of talking about artificial intelligence and what it means and how much like humans is it really. And a lot of the character stuff and the conflict in the movie is great. It's also visually very cool. It does a lot with color that's very interesting. And I highly recommend it. And I would talk more about the things that I liked about it, except I do think, it's not like spoilers would ruin it for you, but I do think that the optimum experience would be to go in not knowing what's going to happen. Yeah. It was a movie that I had intended to see for a long time and never made it happen. Now I have, and I'm very glad that I did. Recommended. All right, I will talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.